Hi Sam, my name is Julian.
My name is Lilly.
Today we're both going to be representing our Sequoia Sports Leadership class.
So would you mind taking a couple moments to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name's Sam. I graduated from Sequoia in 2017. While I was at Sequoia, I played football and I was an IB student. And so I'm here today to share kind of a bit of my story with you all about what happened to me with my experience since I left Sequoia. And so that really started with graduation at Sequoia. About 4 or 5 days before graduation, I went to bed one Friday night, with a little bit of a headache, and woke up that next Saturday with an intense migraine, like to the extent of having nausea and like throwing up or whatnot. And over those next few days, my condition got a lot worse, to the point where I couldn't even stand up on my own. And I had to go to the hospital, do a bunch of tests, and that's when I finally got diagnosed with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, short for GBS. And that's an extremely rare neurological or autoimmune condition where your immune system attacks your peripheral nervous system. And so basically within a few days, I was functionally paraplegic. I was in ICU at Stanford for graduation. I spent the better part of that summer in the hospital, lost about 50 pounds, and really it was kind of like start from scratch all over again. And so before I got sick, I planned to go to UT Austin, which was a tough call for me because, like I said, I played football at Sequoia, and playing in college was something that was really important to me. But I didn't think at the time I could pass up on the opportunity of going to school like UT. But getting sick, like I said, meant I had to spend most of that summer in a rehab facility, basically learning how to do everything again, from walking to writing to typing on the keyboard. And, from there, I was too weak to go to college, go away to Austin. So I decided to take classes locally at Foothill College just to keep my credits on track. And as I recovered, the coach there had recruited me a little bit, and I reached out to him, and I started working out the football team. And I only thought I'd be there for a quarter. I thought maybe I'd just work out and see where it went. But fast forward, I played 2 seasons at Foothill. My sophomore year, I was a captain, and I got accepted to a bunch of schools I applied to transfer to, including UCLA and Berkeley. But Temple University in Philadelphia offered me the opportunity to play for them and continue my education. So that's where I'm at today.
Okay, so our first question for you, basically, we'll come back to GBS, but relating to COVID, how do you feel about playing a game during COVID-19 times, and how do you think this differs from before?
Yeah, COVID's tough, especially from my perspective. I just transferred in. I moved to Philly in July, so everything was going to be new for me anyways, and making the jump from a junior college to Division I was already going to be an adjustment. But this summer camp and this fall camp has really been completely unique. Does not look like any other. And so it's tough because leading up, 2 months ago, I think a lot of athletes were kind of dubious of what the fall would look like. There's so much uncertainty, and it's here now. We play our first game in 10 days, and so I'm just thrilled that my team has done the right steps and followed the right protocol to keep us safe and be able to get to this point. But really, it's just important to take it day by day and just remain focused on my goals and really not take anything for granted because of how uncertain everything is.
So what basically kept you motivated throughout your experience with GBS?
Yeah, good question. And this is one I thought about, and honestly, kind of what kept me motivated is at the time I really didn't think I had a chance, or no, sorry, I didn't think I had a choice, for better or for worse. So I can just restart that. So I think what kept me motivated was at the time I really felt like I didn't have a choice. It was either I was going to get better or I wouldn't. And, because of the timing when I got sick, right before high school graduation, right before starting college, I really just wanted to get back to the old me again. And I didn't want to fall down this path where my illness and those limitations was going to be what dominated my life and was going to be the main thing that defined me. And so I think a key moment I remember was when I was in the hospital on graduation day. Some doctor was doing these electrical tests, to figure out the extent of the damage and what was going on with me. And he was making small talk. And he just asked me, how old I was. I told him 18. I just graduated high school. He's like, "What's your plan?" Told him, I was like, "Oh, I was supposed to go to UT Austin, but, depending how this goes, I'll probably have to miss orientation, because I still didn't quite get how serious it was." And the doctor looked at me and he's like, "Oh no, like you're not gonna be able to go to college for a year. Like don't expect to do that. You're gonna just be at home, and like even then, don't rush anything." And I didn't like that. That was upsetting, and that was hard to hear that, being 18, just graduating high school, that for whatever reason, I was going to have these new limitations on me that was out of my control. And so I just didn't want to accept that. And I didn't want them to limit me. And so I just kind of pushed myself to do whatever I could to get myself back. And weirdly enough, that came through football.
Wow, okay. So next question is, what was the most important lesson you learned from the whole experience with GBS?
Yeah, so I think this is one I'm definitely still working through. It's been 3 years, but this is something I think about a lot, and I've done a lot of reflecting on. I think there's the obvious answers. The importance of pushing yourself and staying true to your ambitions, and you know, never really giving up is what people would say. But also, it was really hard for me to learn how to cope with this sudden trauma and accept that parts of my life had permanently changed, and how hard no matter how hard I could have worked to undo them, they were going to be permanently changed. And like I said, the timing was the tough thing because with GBS, there's no real rationale as towards why you get sick, why one person gets it, someone else gets it, and they don't know how to treat it necessarily. They can help it, but they can't cure it, and they don't really know how to tell you if you're going to get better or not. I was lucky being younger, being an athlete. I had a lot on my side, but there was just so much uncertainty. And for a while, I just kind of blindly pushed forward, and I was kind of really afraid to talk about in detail the struggles I went through, both physically and emotionally, through that time, and how much effort I had to put in just to get myself out of the hospital, just to get myself walking again. And I was almost afraid to bring this up to people around me because I wasn't sure how they would react. Like I said, being 18, being a young guy, like a lot of my friends, this was pretty unfamiliar. And not saying I didn't have great support or whatnot, but this is a totally new experience for a lot of people. And I was afraid how my message would get received. I didn't know if I would, send the message accurately, or how it would just be received. And so I think I struggled a lot to open up about how dramatically GPS affected my life and how it still affects me today. Because I'm playing football. I've reached my goal to play Division I, but just today, this week in practice, I came back and I was frustrated because there's things that used to be easy for me in practice in football that they're not easy anymore. And it takes, way much more effort just to reach that same minimum as before. And so I think I've really learned how to, I'm still working on it, but I've learned that it's important to open up about this and lean on the people that were already there for me and that are still there for me. And, like I said, I'm still just working through that.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to student athletes that get severely injured?
Yeah, so I think the advice I would give is that you have to stay positive through challenges like this, but at the same time, and this is something I struggle with, you have to be able to give yourself some slack and understand it's okay to still be positive in your goals, but be honest about your challenges and your struggles. And this applies to like athletic injuries, but also COVID and what you guys are going through as high school students right now. And so to me, this represents like the importance of finding a balance between like an idealistic perspective and more of a realistic perspective. And so by idealistic, I mean that perspective of you work hard, you can achieve anything, sky's the limit. And like we say in sports, like you don't want to leave anything on the field. You want to give it 110% so you don't have any regrets. Now, on the other hand, you have the realistic perspective, which is kind of like there's going to be things in your life out of your control that may limit your path, that may affect where you're going. And there's not a lot you can do about it, regardless of how hard your ambition is or how hard you work. So for me, I deal with residuals of nerve damage and nerve pain. And like I said, there's things that I can't do no matter how hard I want, no matter how hard I work towards it, that my body literally just won't let me do anymore. And so it's tough because, I think a lot of people will hear my story, and they see I've recovered. And I'm also very, 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 like, I cannot emphasize how blessed I am to have recovered the way I have. But it doesn't mean you can just like put your head down, work through anything, and it's just going to happen, And that doesn't also necessarily mean that hard work is, in vain, because as I've learned, my goals have changed throughout this journey. Where I wanted to be 3 or 4 years ago is totally different now than how I see myself. So I'm still working on this. And I think really the main thing is just learning that you're going to face adversity. A lot of you have already faced some when you're dealing with it right now. And to get through it, you need to learn how to, like I said, lean on the people around you who care about you and who are going to support you, and find the balance between pushing yourself forward and, not taking no for an answer, but also being realistic and being true to yourself in terms of your struggles, what you're going through, and realizing that your goals have to be flexible as your path changes and your perspective changes, because your perspective on life is going to change, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. We really appreciate it. And yeah.
Thank you.
Season. We'll be rooting for you.
Appreciate it.